And as bizarre as that is, it is proven and documented. We will supply you with those documents. As bizarre as that is, I would say that weather wars, and this is quoting actually Senator Claiborne Pell himself, that they are the greatest weapon ever created in the world, and that's the senator's own statement. So yes, I do stand on that.
Thank you.
All right, guys. After several attempts, every night it's like the intro used to be a minute, then it was 4 minutes. Now it's like 31 minutes to get the stream up and going, man. They're making it difficult on us. So let's jump into this. It's Friday night. So we might as well start off making fun of the mainstream news. CNN, check out their thumbnail here. Look at their title. A storm brought some of the largest waves ever recorded off the California coast. Last week, one was 75 feet tall. I mean, does that sound? And look at the thumbnail is of the East Coast. And then they go into talking about nor'easters. They don't even talk about the 75-foot wave. The bomb cyclone that they're calling it, it was a hurricane. If they would have watched this channel, they would have learned. They would have known it was an actual hurricane. So, some other articles are coming out about the 75-foot waves off the coast at Cape Mendocino during last week's bomb cyclone, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to get into all this. We gave the warnings. It just shows that the mainstream, man, they don't know what the heck they're doing. And they suck. They're sock puppets. Meteorologists are just actors with a script. Now we got this massive underwater volcano off the Oregon coast. They 3D mapped this volcano. Now I haven't played it, so we'll go ahead and try to play it. I don't know what's going to happen. It's got music. So the axial seamount is an underwater volcano 300 miles off the coast of Oregon. Well, this is telling us why we're seeing the hot spots off the coast all the time. Oh, speaking of hot spots, over on the worldview map, I was kind of setting it up before the show. And look, I'm like out here in the North Pacific, right underneath Japan. And look out in the ocean. I have 2 fires and actual some smoke out here in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. So either there's some bunker fuel ships out here on fire, or there's some kind of underwater volcanic activity going on. I mean, that's pretty crazy. Right out here in the middle of the ocean. So that doesn't happen very often. All right, let's get on with this. So it's erupted 3 times since 1981, man. I don't even remember hearing about it. The volcano base could, oh man, they were really flying. Boy, you must have to be able to speed read to read this thing. So the New York volcano base could cover the size of Austin, Texas. The magma reservoir is 2/3 the length of Manhattan. Let's see if I can get it to play a little more. Okay, I guess that's all there was to it. So researchers and scientists reportedly created a 3D map of a massive underwater volcano off the Oregon coast for the first time this summer. It took 50 scientists, researchers, and students. What do you know, man? You can't make this shit up. It took them 33 days. They always got to get the 33 in there one way or another. 33 days in July and August aboard a 235-foot research vessel in order to 3D map the axial seamount volcano with the goal of viewing the volcano in a way that have never been done before. I mean, I'm sure they can map it with the satellite imagery and all the stuff they got, all the different satellites. So they say it has erupted 3 times since it was discovered in 1981. I can't believe that's pretty recent. The research vessel was carrying cables needed for the mapping and had to be carefully towed so they wouldn't drift or become entangled. Wonder if it is a bunker fuel ship. The volcano is remote and deep enough that it is unlikely to cause anyone harm. Well, if they're saying that, then that means you need to worry about it. The scientists wanted a better picture of it. However, the next eruption is predicted to be in 2020 or 2021. Well, that's like a year away. That's like in a month. Or no, that's like in 2020. That's like in 1 month. Oh, man. Maybe it's, if that isn't bad enough for you, the flesh-eating bacteria linked to black tar heroin kills 7 in San Diego. This is pretty nasty stuff here. A flesh-eating bacteria linked to the use of black tar heroin has killed at least 7 people over the past 2 months in San Diego area, prompting health authorities to alert law enforcement and other officials in California. What are they going to do for you? They're not going to help you. They're probably the ones selling it. Oh, man. This is the things that are going on now. It's so frustrating. All right, where is the, there it is. I almost redid it there. So the UK weather storm Ataya set to hit the Met Office issues severe warning. They're saying winds of 70 miles an hour could hit some areas to cover 3 p.m. on Sunday to 9 a.m. Monday. You know what? They're not, even though they're not talking anything about the wave warning that we put out. And they're showing big waves, but they're just talking about the wind. Look, they're not saying anything about big ass waves coming in. So we showed 40 to 50 foot waves will be inbound with this storm. So I guess they're not going to warn you about the big waves. And I don't know what's up with the thumbnail on this picture. I don't know if they're trying to do some programming on us, like an X-ray vision. So the bushfires close in on Sydney from 2 sides as weather forecast deteriorates. Man, I mean, the things that are going on down in Australia is just crazy, man. So the bushfire crisis arrived in Sydney yesterday with 2 massive blazes threatening homes on 2 sides of the city. It's like they're trying to burn their way to the city. And we're going to take a look at the maps. Australia's drought may be causing New Zealand's great glaciers to turn red. So they're saying the drought gripping eastern Australia is having consequences as far as 2,000 kilometers away, with the ice on New Zealand glaciers turning red and pink from all the ash and the dust, the bunker fuel, the chemtrails. It's all going south. Another article coming out of Australia here about how the mega fires, the fire service says the bushfires have combined to create a 60-kilometer mega fire north of Sydney. They are all in a 60-kilometer stretch that runs from Colo area to Hawkesbury, north of Sydney, and all the way up near Singleton. There is just fire the whole way. A thick blanket of smoke descended on Sydney again on Friday afternoon. People should limit their exposure. You know, it's crazy down there. This is a fire weapon. This was on purpose. They cut the volunteer firefighters by 75% right before all these fires. Before fire season, they cut their force down 75%. So now they don't have enough firefighters to fight all these mega fires, man. They're doing it on purpose. This is just like a Paradise, California, and, you know, all the other intentional burns Another thing they're not talking about, the water catchments are covered in bushfire ash. What will happen when it rains? So even after the fires are gone, you know, all the trees are missing. You got all this ash all over the beaches. You got all this stuff that's going to be poisoning the water. This is just going to wreck the ecosystem over here. I don't think people know just how bad it is going to be over here. So, man, they got to get the fire stopped. They know how to do it. Yeah, they said this is way worse than smoking several packs of cigarettes a day. Now, this actually come out back on May 3rd. A drone just flew a kidney to a transplant patient for the first time ever. It won't be the last. In the wee hours of April 19th, a custom-made drone roughly the size of a washing machine lifted off from a neighborhood in southwestern Baltimore and whisked a human kidney to a nearby hospital. What? Did I read that right? A washing machine. Okay, a drone roughly the size of a washing machine lifted off from a neighborhood in Baltimore and whisked a human kidney to a nearby hospital. What do you mean they got the kidney from the neighborhood? I mean, are they doing some organ harvesting here? What was it, a car wreck and they cut the guy's kidney out? I mean, what is going on here? So a team of surgeons successfully transplanted the organ into a critically ill patient. The 2.8-mile, 10-minute drone flight was the first in the world to deliver an organ. So it was only 2.8 miles. You know, if you're doing 55 miles an hour, I mean, come on. Something about this don't make sense. Yeah, Tales from the Dark Side for sure. All right, I don't think I'm going to get into this dust storm thing. I mean, we know what's causing all this stuff. Okay, so I've been talking about this vaccination on the measles that's going on down in Samoa. I've been talking about it for a few days now. You know, the whole nation shut down door to door for a vaccination campaign. They're going door to door. They're wanting you to stick up red flags outside your door. But when I was digging around on this, because I had another article come up, this come up. Samoa charges anti-vaxxer with incitement as the country battles deadly measles outbreak. So they've charged this anti-vaxxer with incitement against the government as the Pacific nation remains in a national shutdown over a measles outbreak which killed more than 60 people. You know, they don't say what they did to her or anything like that. I mean, they might. I didn't read the whole damn thing. But what's crazy is just a month or so ago, we had this article. No measles outbreak in Samoa, says health chief. Wonder if this guy's still around. So the Samoa's Ministry of Health Director General has reassured that there is no measles outbreak affecting the country. But yet they're, you know, what's the truth there? So he said the reports from the New Zealand of the pastor who arrived in Auckland last month carrying the symptoms of measles was a returning resident who attended a Methodist annual conference held in Samoa in July. He claims that the New Zealand media created the impression that there was a measles outbreak in Samoa. And then you start talking about the defects in our immunization because of the hesitancy of people and how we're going to do our coverage. The more we talk about that, we forget about the main subject, which is the outbreak in New Zealand. This is why we want to reassure our people. So far, there is no outbreak measles in Samoa. So who's telling the truth? What's going on here? So it sounds to me like, this was on September. So that's 2 months ago. And now you're getting, anti-vaxxers arrested. And they're forcibly vaccinating everybody. But the health department guy says there is no measles outbreak. Maybe it's the vaccines that are causing the outbreak. All right, so we got this coming out of the sock puppets, the Weather Channel, the Line, mainstream here. Check it out. Cirrus arc clouds form over the upper Midwest. Meteorologist Ari Sarzalari, is that a real name? Ari Sarzalari describes a cirrus arc cloud and what makes it unique. Let's take a listen.
This was a recent satellite image that I came across, and I wanted to share it with you guys because it's pretty cool stuff what's actually going on here. Do you see that big arc of a cirrus cloud that's extending from like parts of the plains up into the Midwest, even up into parts of Canada, several hundred miles long? What's going on here is you're actually looking at a jet streak. Basically,
a jet streak. So he's kind of telling the truth. It's a jet streak.
Just a part of the jet stream that is exceptionally strong. And, the reason that this is so interesting is
the jet stream that is super strong. Hold on, I'm going to bring that up. Well, where'd my earth null go? What is going on with my stuff tonight? Okay, so we're on the right date. 11/28. Okay.
because it's such a long cirrus cloud. You don't usually see
A cirrus cloud. A cirrus cloud is the chemtrails.
cirrus clouds that extend this far. So that red line I just drew, I think that's where the jet stream likely is at this point. And at the entrance part of this, which is on the left side of your screen, you've got air that is just screaming into here, and it's accelerating as it moves toward the east. Now, here's the kicker. On the south side of the jet stream, you have air that is rising. It's warm air that's rising. You've got cool air that's sinking on the north side of it. And generally, when you get rising air, it will tend to condense because the air gets cooler as you get higher up in the atmosphere. And then basically, you're forming that cloud kind of on the left side of your screen, and then it just gets accelerated farther off toward the east. So I'll take all this stuff.
Man, he's so full of crap. So I'm not seeing any kind of acceleration here. Let's go back to that date. That was the 28th. That was a few days ago. Let's go back to the 28th. Wow, that fire spot was still out here in the ocean. Now that's pretty crazy. Let's go back here. All right, so here's our cloud. You know what I seen when I was looking at this earlier? So this is our jet streak cirrus cloud. Guess what I found up here in the Great Lakes? We get it on the right layer. We have bunker fuel being deployed. Here is a bunker fuel vessel, and here is another bunker fuel vessel. Here, now you can really see them. And there's one down here. So here's another place I had to watch for them dumping bunker fuel. So another toxic ship. I'm not sure what the name of this water body is right here. I know it's part of the Great Lakes, at least I think it is. But whatever it is, we have bunker fuel being deployed. Some of the most toxic emissions on the planet. You know, part of this is a mixture of the aerosols and the bunker fuel. And let's get up into today. So just more, you know, they got to make stuff up as they go. Australian farmer releases hell from protective nets after storm. Hey, that's a good idea. stand underneath it when you release the cord. All right, so where do we want to go? Let's go ahead and just go over the worldview map. And there they are. So the bunker fuel operations continue. In fact, it looks like they're ramping up. They're getting closer to the west coast. And I can see them. Let me zoom in. These little lines that you see that they kind of billow out from a little point. And I'll put the enhancement on here. Like I can see them just because I look at this every day. They stand out. And then you put on the enhancement. And then you can start seeing the yellow lines where they're start at a point and bill out. There's actually tons of ships out here right now. Here's a fleet, another one right there. So we have more Pandora fog exercises going out here. They were way over by Kamchatka, Russia, and now they're right here off the west coast. So the bunker fuel is not letting up at all. I'm trying to get this where get what I can, the most loaded one. All right, so we'll just kind of go around here and check this stuff out and see what's going on up here in Alaska. So we definitely have some off and on spraying. Just kind of looking up. See, we can't look all the way up in here in Canada because it's dark up there. We won't be able to see up there real good till springtime, you know, for us. So I'm trying to get this to load up a little bit. So everybody is pretty much cloud covered over here with fake clouds, some real clouds. We got fires popping off everywhere, hot spots all over California, even though they're getting tons of, look at this big sprayer right here, going, you know, right over Yuba City. Isn't that really close? There's Roseville. Isn't that really close to where the Paradise fires were? Pretty close. There's Chico over there. So aerosols all over California. And then you got more little spot fires. I mean, actually, they're everywhere. No big major burns, it looks like. And then you got a major spraying operation over Santa Barbara, Bakersfield, Fresno, LA. You're getting waxed. Let's see if it checked the layers. Yeah, they really sprayed Southern California big time, trying to get everybody docile. And you could do make you do some of the flesh eating heroin, you know, get everybody all drugged up out here so they don't care what's going on. So the tyrannical ABC gangs and the governments can keep taking your rights and stealing your money. So this big spraying operation not only goes over California and where all the fires are going. Now that looks like a little bit of a bigger fire. Let me see if that's a fire or an aerosol. Well, you got an aerosol exactly there. And then what looks to be a pretty good sized fire. So we'll have to check the heat map. It's not showing up as a hot spot, but it sure looks like a fire. Las Vegas, you're getting hammered. And then parts of the Bajas, brand new spraying operation. All the way up through the Bajas, you got some big liners, big fat liners starting to drift out. And then all the way up to Bajas, and you go up through Arizona, complete whiteout, New Mexico. Ah, look at this flight path. Holy moly. Now that's one we got to keep. Look at this. Come on, man. I got to save that. hopefully we're going to see this one on the, hold on, I got to try to screen capture this. That's going to have to be a thumbnail. That's busted, man. That is almost funny. And where do I want to put, yeah, I'll save it in here. Should have put the date. Yeah, I should have, here, let me title that the date so I know when this happened. Now my screen is freezing up because I'm trying to save it. You know, we're gonna save as 12/6/2019. Now, anybody good with the flight radar? You could look this up. We could try to find out if this is an unmarked plane. You can even see the shadows, man. Tell me that isn't some thick stuff there. That's probably some David Key stuff going on out there. Let's check the layers. I mean, can you get more blatant than that? Hey, there's Roswell, New Mexico, man. It's a UFO. We have UFO out here spraying aerosols. So that's a busted for sure. So the spraying don't stop just in New Mexico and Utah, Colorado. Texas is getting bombarded. Oklahoma completely whited out. Man, look at the size difference in these aerosols right here. You got a big fat wide one and then a little skinny one. So they're definitely setting up for the next round of storms. I mean, that's just hilarious. So you come in, did 1, 2, 3 loops, maybe a fourth one and got a little disintegrated there. And the spraying just keeps on going. Then you got another spraying operation over Kansas, going up into Nebraska. And I can't really tell. North Dakota, South Dakota, you got so much snow cover. There's a few sprayers back here in Idaho. Man, that's pretty blatant right there, man. That's busted in the act right there. Yep. Heavy aerosols right here in the four corners of Nebraska, Iowa, Kansas, and Missouri. And now tomorrow we'll see these storms go right into this, and then we're gonna have to really see what happens to that storm with the S patterns. Well, we got just a few, still got a few fires, but we got some random spraying going down here off the coast of Florida. Nothing super heavy. Actually, it looks really clear. It's clear down. Well, I thought it was clear in the Bahamas, but look, when you scroll down in here, it hasn't stopped. They're still spraying around the Bahamas. It's like they're trying to hide something down here. What is that thing? I have no clue if that's a cloud or some kind of weird shaped terrain. Man, that's a cloud. You know what? I'm going to have to start screenshotting these. And then we'll have like a contest to name the clouds. We'll come up with our own terms and names for the man-made clouds. Now, I haven't seen any bunker fuel operations down here in a while, so I'm actually looking thinking that they're going to here pretty soon. This is probably the clearest I've seen South America in a long time. I mean, you do got this aerosol deployment down here way south. Everything's already starting to drift out. Oh yeah, they were definitely down around the bottom. But yeah, I haven't seen any bunker fuel out there in a while. And we'll just kind of go up through here real quick. You know, these big storms are coming in over to the UK. France is still getting hit. Looks like Portugal is getting in on the aerosol deploys. Yeah, they're getting hammered right now. Trying to pull the atmospheric river up towards them. So wow, they really picked that spraying operation up pretty quick. Yeah, they were some big thick liners, X's and grids. Like, we need to name these kind of clouds right here. Like, I'm going to start screenshotting these as I go through. And then maybe one night a week we'll go through some of these clouds and we'll come up with names for them. We'll create our own cloud atlas map. France is getting bombarded. Then when the meteorologists see the crazy clouds, we're already going to have them named. And they say, hey, just go to the above ground page. He's already got them clouds named. Big spraying operation over the Mediterranean Sea. Going right on over to Greece, parts of Italy. And here we go with this weird stuff that's going on over the Saharas. And then we got these. So I'm like, this is a typhoon. I think it's a typhoon. I can't remember if this one has turned into a typhoon yet. But look at the shape of this thing. It's like a tube with really high, like just towering clouds. I mean, this thing probably looks biblical if you were out on one of these islands looking at this super high cloud deck going straight down. It's like a big cylinder. Doesn't look anything like a natural storm. Somalia's getting just pounded right now. Yemen, they're getting in on the heavy rain. And then you got this miniature typhoon that's going to be hitting Madagascar. This thing's going to go on down. There's some islands out here. In fact, we'll check that here in a minute. We'll check the paths of all these storms. You know, the spraying, at least the last couple days, has been pretty light up over here. You know, Mongolia, they usually get hammered. Russia usually gets hammered. Japan, North Korea, South Korea, they usually get waxed. But here lately, man, they've been pretty clear. Maybe because all the weather is being fabricated down in here. Down around Guam, Papua New Guinea's getting hit with a storm. In fact, it looks like they got a few of the storms lined up. And then we get down here. So we have aerosols and fires surrounding Sydney. So they're spraying the accelerants on these fires. They're actually starting all the way out here in the nature reserve. What a name to start the spraying operations. Every park has aerosols being deployed upwind. So if you're deploying aerosols here, it's going to naturally blow and go right into the fire zone. And then you accelerate the fires. It's on purpose. So, I mean, these are just massive. Like this fire right here is probably creating its own weather. I mean, Look at the frequencies in there. You got aerosols being deployed. Look at Sydney. They have it lit on both sides. All that smoke is blowing straight for Sydney. And, you know, what do you got here? A torpedo. So big time mess going on down here. Pray for the people down here. They're going to lose their properties. They're not going to have any forest left. And it looks like they have moisture. We're going to have to check to see if there's any kind of moisture in this, the clouds and the I mean, look at these, man. This is so blatant. This is such a blatant grid pattern right here. Look at this, just back and forth and back and forth, back and forth, off and on, back and forth. Super grids. So insane burning going on. All the fires are in perfect grid formations. Look at the smoke color. You know, what's burning in that? That's probably somebody's house. That's something big to be putting off smoke like that. That's not a pile of leaves. That's something else. Look, we just go right on up where the bullet train's going in. I mean, the bullet train's going to be on the coast, but for some reason, they're burning all the forest down, all the wood. There's like not going to be any trees whatsoever left. All these national parks are going to be treeless. So then you have all this toxic smoke going right down here to New Zealand. You know, they got heavy flooded last week. They were heavily flooded. And you got aerosols being deployed to mix in with the fire smoke. Look, they were doing a real short segmented spray where they do little dumps. And then, you know, later on that'll drift out into something. So it was perfectly clear other than these aerosols. And they're always targeting the Christchurch area. You know, what's going on with this cloud? These looks like some pretty freaky microwaves going on in this cloud. Like, what is this cloud? There's probably nothing about this cloud in the cloud book. Looks like Hawaii has a little bit of weather, kind of all around. This would be yesterday's. Like, we could see where the bunker fuel ship was yesterday. If I can get this to load. So look, all the bunker fuel boats, there's a few down here doing some tic-tac-toes, but they are all right in this area. And that would be directly below the Aleutian Island chain. You're right there. So that's where they were yesterday. And today, they're a little bit over to the east. They're heading towards the coast. Then you also have the aerosols being deployed. Let's go check some different things. I want to kind of look at the... If I get this to load right, I want to look at the hot spots, see if we can see any of these hot spots out off the west coast. First, I'm just going to check the mainlands here. Okay, and then I'm going to go zoom in. Because we are seeing more and more hot spots out off the coast of Oregon. Now we know why. We know there's a monster volcano over here. We have methane vents leaking. So let me enable this and we'll be able to see it better. If I see anything big, I'll zoom in on it. So I probably should have turned off these watches and warnings. We don't need them on there. Yeah, the contrast turned up on this just so we can see them a little better. Let me try it without it on. Yeah, it's just really dark. So let's go to the so-called cirrus layer. So you definitely have some aerosols being deployed there, and then you have the bunker fuel way over there. All right, I need to kind of zoom down. We got to go check. Let me get back. We got to go check and see if we can catch the big S patterns. And I'll try to use the RAM slider to pick up the bunker fuel operations. Man, I hope they're on here. While this is trying to load, let's get the RAM slider loaded. So I need to set that up on probably every hour. And we'll go like 24 images. Let me put the enhancement on so I can see it better. All right, I'm not. Oh, there they are. I see them. Hey, thanks out there, Robert. All right, now we can zoom in on it. So let's zoom in on Mexico. New Mexico. Yeah, that might get a few questions. Like, what's an atmospheric river? There they go. Look at that. Looked like they were booking pretty fast. That could have been like a military plane dropping them things out. Okay, so it's actually an X right here. And it looks like he went up in elevation, dropped down, and then started the S turns. So if somebody is good out there and you see this video, see if you can find this aircraft on the Flight 24 tracker. And then what goes on right here? It's like an explosion of something. Let me try some different colors just to see if I can make it look any better. No, that's about it. So if I invert the colors, they stand out pretty good. But yeah, that's all connected with this other real big X. You got another X. And I'm pretty strong here, so let me back out a little bit more, get a bigger picture of it. Yeah, so that's really a huge pattern. If you count this, it looks like a big dip, like he dropped down and just started going crazy with the aircraft trails. And look at that, spraying operation over Oklahoma. Let's go check that one out. So they took perfectly clear skies They brought in the aircraft. They turned on the spray nozzles, turned on the JP8 switch, and started doing all these crisscrossing patterns and S-turns. There's the S-turns down there in the bottom left. But the whole state of Oklahoma just got disintegrated with X after X after X. Like, that is some serious aerosol deployment right there. And now it's going into nighttime, so we won't see till tomorrow what happens with all the, I mean, look at that. That's almost, that spray down there in the bottom of Texas almost looks like a funnel cloud coming down. It's so thick. Yep, happy Pearl Harbor Day. That was another engineered event. Let me back out and just see if there's any other big ones we needed to look at. Yeah, you know, if you look at like our food in America, most of our food is banned in other countries. Like almost all the GMO food is banned in tons of other countries. That should tell you something right there. So we do have a huge operation off the coast of Florida, over the Bahamas. And of course, you know, we just seen these monster aerosols being deployed. And there's some new spraying operations over North Dakota, South Dakota, Minnesota, up into, looks like Alberta, just up in the north. We'll go look at that, document that one. Yeah, you're going to probably grow your food inside a greenhouse, because all this crap here is nanoparticulates. It's the 2.5 particulates, you know, nanometers in size. I mean, look at that fat liner going across Florida, and they're all going across the Bahamas. Look, that's targeted. You know, when they keep going over the same areas, that's a target spraying. I guess I could try to pick up, we'll check the RAM slider too, but let me just try this once. And I want to go to Continental and just see if we can pick up the bunker fuel out here with this map. It don't work as good as the RAM slider, but let me put this on the micro physics. Look, you can really see him up here. There's actually a lot more than what I thought. So now we're seeing, I mean, these ships are moving at a really pretty fast clip, man. You wouldn't think the big cargo ships would be moving that fast. I mean, that's fast. So there's like too many to count out here. And you got to remember, for every 13 of these bunker fuel ships put off more emissions than every car on the planet. Just 13 of them. We got, you know, probably 30, 40 out there. All right, let's go check the RAM slider. Definitely will be able to see him on this. You know, I kind of want to see what that aerosol deployment would look like with this, but we may not catch it on here because I got to do it in a certain amount of frames. Maybe if I go to the go 16 and we'll do the CONUS. So I got it set up on every 30 minutes, so hopefully we got that deployment there. Let me zoom in and see. See, with this one, you can see the nighttime spraying operation. All these lights, that's because we're picking it up at night. So see if I get it back to the day. This thing takes so long to load. Alright, that's going to take too long to load. While that's loading, we'll see if it'll load. Let's go ahead and go check the earth null. And what I want to do is put it on now. We're going to check the polar vortex heating. Let's put this on the temperatures. And we can see they're starting to heat it still. Let me take the wind off. And we can only go forward a few days. I'm just trying to watch where they're trying to push this polar vortex cold. So look, they're really going to ramp this thing up and try to push that cold air. They're going to do the same thing as they did last year around Christmas time. They're going to park that, try to push that super cold air towards us and send us into the Arctic plunge. All right. What am I doing here? I want the ocean. I want the wave heights. Okay, so we're on now. Let me fast forward this. So here's that wave warning that I'm trying to give out for Ireland and the UK. We've been trying to give it to them for a couple days now. Let me try to back that up right when it gets there. 42.8 foot waves. 47.6. So you know, 45 foot waves are no joke, man, especially if you're on a beach. And the last time we got these 40 footers, it was knocking off the balconies of the second floor hotels along the beach. That happened down in Portugal. So this is going to be, you know, the mainstream are just talking about the winds, but look at the waves. 35 foot waves. Right in the zone where they were talking about the winds. But I mean, this is a giant, this is like a tsunami weapon here. So pretty big waves right there. Let's check over here. Alaska's going to get hit with a few. What's going on with the typhoons? That's another strange thing. Oh, there we are. I always get to the wrong part for some reason. So these are such small typhoons, man. 30 foot waves. So that thing over there by Ireland's got way bigger waves than the actual typhoons. Let's just go ahead and check the carbon monoxide. This is at the surface. I'll try to zip through here. I'm starting to get really, really tired. Air quality is horrible down where the aerosols are being deployed all over the East Coast. Horrible air. Sound like one of the dogs knocks some wood over. This is a construction zone. And let's just check the PM 2.5. So, wow, look at that. Look it up in the BC area, Alberta area. You got tons of particulate matter here off the coast of Oregon, Washington, California, Texas, Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina. You got some really bad air right now. These are particulate matter, 2.5 microns, man. This is really bad for you. It's a carcinogen. Hey, thanks out there, Bill. And if I missed anybody, because I don't have the actual broadcaster dashboard up because I can't even find it. Hopefully I'll have it dialed in by tomorrow. Yeah, so it's not really catching it, man. I'd have to really spend a lot of time trying to dial that in. Let's go ahead and check the Arctic and the Antarctic. Well, if you look up PM 2.5s, let's just look it up real quick. Let's go to Wikipedia. PM 2.5s are really, really, really bad for you. And then the smaller ones, the PM 1s, are even worse. Ah, look at, what's this Wikipedia thing? Oh, they want you to give money. We won't give you no money till you define a contrail as a chemtrail. This really isn't the one I wanted, but okay, particulates. Particulates, also known as atmospheric aerosol particles, atmospheric particulate matter, or suspended particulate matter, microscopic particles or solid or liquid matter suspended in the air. The term aerosol commonly refers to the particulate air mixture, blah, blah, blah. Some subtypes of atmospheric particles include the suspended particulate matter, the aerosols, which are coarse particles with a diameter of between 2.5 and 10 microns, fine particles with a diameter of 2.5 or less, ultrafine particles, and soot. This isn't the one I want, because the one I want gives you a graph of the effects and stuff. So like right here, here's the climate effects. Atmospheric aerosols affect the climate of the earth by changing the amount of solar radiation. See, they're really talking about the bunker fuel. They're talking about the chemtrails. But man, there used to be a chart that showed, like it'll say 15 minutes exposure of PM 2.5s are deadly, like in 15 minutes. And then it would say that, it goes right into the blood-brain barrier and all that stuff. I'm trying to see if I can kind of see it in here, because this is definitely a different one than I normally look at. Yeah, I'm too tired to look at that stuff right now. Oh man, you're gonna have to sign back off or get another person in here. So it looks like we got a bunch of plasma and lightning going on up in the Arctic. Let me try to slow that down just so I can catch the... This is actually a pretty good map to check the bunker fuel out, because you can go zoom in and you can get the whole northern hemisphere. The purple, that's like the plasma. And then the stuff that looks like lightning. Sometimes it's auroras, but mainly that's, you know, if you look at the solar wind, see if we have any kind of auroras. So yeah, there is a little bit of auroras right now. But most of the time, this is from the atmospheric compression, the heating and the bending and stretching of the atmospheric compression. Like trying to move the polar vortex air. When they're trying to move it, you get a lot of stuff like this. Let's look at the southern hemisphere. Well, yeah, the signs are right out there in front of you everywhere. If you look at all the other countries like France and Hong Kong and all these protests going on against the governments, all the gun grabs, see, they're running scared, man. And don't think it won't come here, because it will. It's planned. All right, not seeing a whole lot at all down here in the south. One thing before, let's just check Australia a little bit. Let's check the fire zone down here. Because this is pretty biblical down here. This is like hell on earth down in Australia. We have a lot of viewers down there. And hopefully they're not in these fire zones. The swamp will never be drained, man. That's all like a soap opera, man. They're all friends when they're not on screen, man. They've all, you know, they're all in on it. There's no one person fighting for the people, because they're all pushing these agendas. They're all driven by money from the technocrats and the ultra rich. You know, you got the billionaires, then you got the trillionaires, and then you got another class that are above them that rule everything. But, you know, the way I look at it is you got to just keep on going. Like, you know, you still got to do what you got to do. Look at the microwaves out here. They want to try to call them microwave or gravity wave clouds. Come on. I tell you what, this is some really clear. If you got a really good computer and a fast internet, man, this is probably the best satellite feed out here. This is the Japan satellite. I mean, it's really clear when you let it load all the way. It's ridiculous clear. Alright, so it's not going to load. Alright guys, I'm going to go ahead and call this a show, man. I'm spent. It's Friday. I'm always wore out by Friday. Took forever to get the stream going, but we got it going. Hopefully I can get that stuff straightened out before the next show. Anyway, guys, much love. Everybody's gonna have to rise one way or another. They're not gonna give you a choice. Anyway, guys, much love. Here we go. Let's rock out, turn it up, armor up, be safe. Catch you tomorrow.
Mr. President, honored delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we shall propose further cooperative efforts between all the nations in weather prediction and eventually in weather control. We shall propose, finally, a global systems of communication satellites linking the whole world in telegraph and telephone and radio and television. The day need not be far away when such a system will televise the proceedings of this body to every corner of the world for the benefit of peace.
Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly.
We start the new month. Claims tonight international vapour trails laid by international organisations could be filling Central West skies with dangerous chemicals. Opponents of these mysterious chemtrails, which have been appearing over Dubbo and other Central West centres, argue science is being perverted to change local weather patterns and keep Australia in drought.
These weirdly shaped vapour trails above Dubbo make curious patterns, but concerns tonight it could signal a systematic poisoning of the skies above Western New South Wales. Jet planes often leave contrails, but these vapour trails aren't on any recognised flight paths, and they run closely parallel and cross over in gigantic X shapes.
For water. In the early 2000s, the UAE started performing regular cloud seeding operations. Cloud seeding is the process of increasing the amount of rain produced from clouds.
So, as we've been reporting for the past week or so, fine dust concentrations really did rise to alarming levels in South Korea over the past several days. One of the methods identified as a potential way to mitigate the worst effects is a technology called cloud seeding. Tests are already being carried out in the skies above South Korea.
Residents in southern Tasmania are demanding to know why cloud seeding was conducted over the Derwent River catchment the day before the worst floods in 40 years. Cloud seeding is a technique used to increase rain.
The death dumps, otherwise known as chemical trails, are being dropped and sprayed throughout the United States, in England, Scotland, Ireland, Northern Europe, and I have personally seen them not only in the United States but in Mexico and Canada. Birds are dying around the world. Fish are dying by the hundreds of thousands around the world. This is genocide by the United Nations. This element within our society that's doing this must be stopped. I happen to know of 2 of the locations where the airplanes are that dump this crap on us. 4 of the planes are out of the Air National Guard, Lincoln, Nebraska, and the other planes are out of Fort Still, Oklahoma.
Just get on to Mr.
Yes,
Fletcher. Another question on the in an interview with the Los Angeles Times on April 21st, you said that you told the Associated Press that the American government has created weather tampering techniques so that the New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans and to control the rest. Would you explain what you were trying to say?
Well, what I was trying to say is exactly what I said. There is weather control techniques. We have a complete package on that, which I did not bring, but I certainly will see to it that it is brought in for the record. Number 1, the entire patents on the equipment. Number 2, Senator Claiborne Pell's complete statement and story of his own that not only does it exist, but that we even utilize it as far back as the Vietnam War. You might want to touch base
That's
with
all right,
Senator
but
Pell.
I just want to repeat before I turn to...
So yes, but we do have all that information.
You're saying the government has created weather tampering techniques so that the, quote, New World Order will be able to starve millions of Americans...
Worldwide.
Millions of Americans, and to control the rest.
Yes, sir, and that's my belief. As bizarre as that sounds, if somebody had told me that that equipment even existed 10 years ago, I would have thought they were nuts, sir. And at this point in time, we have all the documents to prove it. And if you think that 85 tornadoes takes place in the middle of our growing area by simultaneous accident, I'm sorry. With the equipment that's already set up internationally.
I think I have it working. I can't even find my own stream. Oh man, this new change that they did to the studio does not cooperate with the streaming software I use because we're multi-streaming to different platforms. And like I had to keep deleting the YouTube channel and then re-adding it. And then right now I can't even find my own video. I mean, I'm watching it just like you guys are, which is probably going to lag me out. So hopefully this will keep going here. And it seems like it's working now. And hopefully I have audio and all that stuff because I have no control panel. So it looks like, yeah, everybody's okay. Everybody can hear me and all that. All right, let's jump into it. After